welcome to another episode of Creative Belief. This podcast is a curated collection of conversations with creatives who believe that creativity can change the world. My name is Alex. I get to be one of the hosts, and I'm here with my buddy and my business partner, Josh. Josh, how's it going today, man?
It's good, man. The sun's been out, enjoying some nice temps, ready to get into the pod today. And just excited to hear from our guest.
Yeah, for sure. We are loving what Indiana is finally delivering at the time of this recording. Feels like we're out of the dark days of winter, which is awesome. We are pumped about today's guest. Today, we've got Harrison Pogue on the show with us. Harrison is the owner of Harrison Pogue Media. He's a 4-time regional Emmy Award-winning filmmaker based here in Indianapolis. His true passion lies in telling stories of the human experience, and he hopes to focus his future efforts on the geopolitical issues of our time. Harrison, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, guys. Thank you for having me.
For sure. We are super pumped. We got introduced to Harrison through our buddy Tyler, who we have talked about on the podcast. Tyler's our finance bro, who is a creative, even though he will still to this day tell you that he's not. Everyone's got to have a finance bro, right? We all have to have one of those in our lives.
Yeah, I'm lucky to have a couple, but he is 1A for me. Anytime I have any sort of, I think I listened to a snippet of one of yours, and you gave a shout out to him about if you have an accounting question or something. I was like, yeah. So I'm not the only one that goes to Tyler.
Hit him up. He knows how to cook the books. As we like. I'm kidding. Very much kidding. But yeah, we are super pumped to have you on the show today.
I'm really excited and honored that you guys even considered me. And definitely, again, shout out to Tyler for gassing me up. And he's been a buddy of mine for, crazy to think about, probably 8-9 years, maybe even 10 at this point. So
that's awesome.
That's awesome, man. And we've loved seeing the work you're producing as well. And hopefully we can talk a little more about that as well today. But let's start with your backstory, man. Harrison, how was creativity a part of your life growing up? What are some things that maybe early on kind of sparked creativity in your life? And tell us a little bit about just your upbringing.
Grew up Indianapolis, born and raised. I grew up on the South Side. Went to a familiar South Side Catholic high school that a lot of people know that, quite frankly, I'm not super proud of, but that's another discussion for another time. And then I went to Miami of Ohio for a year in college, and then transferred to Indiana. Growing up, I was actually more of a sports kid. All my friends were in sports. I played soccer, basketball. I did have a little bit of a time in 7th and 8th grade where I was making just stupid videos with buddies. Is that Teams ring coming in for you guys?
We can hear it. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me figure out a way to mute that. You want to just pick up back?
Yeah.
On,
yeah. Just once you feel good, just pick up back from there. That's great.
Microsoft Teams. How do I mute notifications?
I think the only way I've ever done it when you have Teams open is turning on Do Not Disturb.
Just
you can on your phone. Yeah. And then you can still keep the app up and see stuff come in, but it won't ding at you.
Sick. Sorry about that, fellas.
No, dude, you're good.
Oh,
you're good.
All good, man.
Do you want to tee me up again, or do you want me to dive in?
I would say just dive in. Just pick up from there. I would start right there at the kind of 6th, 7th grade. You were talking a little bit about what you were getting into there.
Yep. So I was mostly a sports kid. There were little moments here and there on the weekends and stuff where a couple of my buddies who weren't in sports, we would make videos. I wish I could find those videos just to see, but they're long into a black hole of nothingness. But yeah, other than that, I was mostly a sports kid. And even into high school, I didn't. I took a couple theater classes, which I really enjoyed, but it was not a super artsy high school. There wasn't a lot of like media programs. I mean, there was music and stuff, but I've never been a music guy. So as far as what I do now, there wasn't a lot of introduction to it until I fell into it in college,
Yeah.
and that was completely by accident.
Talk about that. Like, how do you go from sports to accidentally becoming a filmmaker? Like, that's a super interesting journey, I feel like.
Well, as I mentioned, I went to Miami of Ohio for a year for business because that's what everyone does that doesn't know what they want to do. And it just wasn't a good fit for me there. I went there to like, I was like, I'm not going to go to IU. I'm not going to go to Purdue where all my friends are going. I need to branch out. And then I got there and it just wasn't a good fit. And so I transferred to Indiana and a lot of my credits didn't transfer.
Mm.
And even just like basic courses that were like 1-to-1. And it was like, okay. So I couldn't directly get into Kelly School of Business. And so I was talking to my academic counselor and I was like, one, this sucks. Two, I don't want to be here. I want to get out as soon as possible. I'm also like not really sure the business is the move anyway. So like, how can I get out in the shortest amount of time while also exploring maybe some creative stuff? At the time, I was like really interested in being a music manager, like a band manager. And he was like, well, believe it or not, we have this program called arts management that we just started. And you can like pick a specialty within the arts and kind of like get a minor. It's not technically a minor, but you can pick a specialty and take classes. And then you just get like a generic management degree.
Yeah.
Not through the business school, through one of their other schools. And so I was like, all right, sign me up. And once I was in that, I started like just testing the waters with a bunch of different classes to figure out that quote unquote specialty. And so I did like a piano class. I did like a graphic design class. And then it just so happened like around that time, there was a photography contest at the school. It was just like something I saw on one of the, polls, and got one of my dad's old cameras. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'll try it. I was always kind of like the de facto vacation photographer with my family.
Yep.
I didn't know what I was doing, but I just enjoyed it. So I took a picture of the art museum at Indiana University. I don't know if you guys have ever been down there. There used to be, I don't know if there still is, there used to be this red arch. And I took a picture of it with the moon in a similar shape behind it. And I like heavily edited it. Like it wasn't a great photo, but somehow I'm sure there were like 3 entries, I won. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm good at this. And so, and then I pivoted to my specialty to like telecom. And that's when I took probably 4 or 5 production courses the rest of my college career. And so that was the launching point.
That's awesome, dude. That's like I love that. Like just kind of exposure to something that you like maybe never really knew, but we're like, I want to get in and out of this place as quickly as possible. I understand that. I didn't even end up making it to college. Like I had picked a degree program and was going to just try to like get through it as quick as possible in digital communications. And then I didn't go. So I was a real short time. But I think that's a super cool, like way to get exposed to creativity. So out of college, talk a little bit about like, where do you go from there? Like, how do you land your first kind of gig in that world of filmmaking?
So got more into photography after winning the photography contest of like 3 applicants. And that naturally got me interested in video. Like, okay, so like I can take still images, but what about moving images? So I started taking classes revolving around that at IU, and I've also been a massive NFL fan from a child. There's like little baby pictures of me at what used to be called the RCA Dome.
Heck yeah.
And so that was kind of where I was gravitating towards. I was like, I kind of want to get into sports, video, cinema, whatever.
Yeah.
And I applied to an internship at NFL Films, got rejected, and then reapplied like the next semester and got in. And so that was my first post-college video world job, was an internship in the camera department at NFL Films. But very, awesome. very quickly realized I had no idea what I was doing. I had come from a world of DSLR. Like, I was shooting video on Nikon and Canon, and that was like at the boom of the DSLR revolution, which was great. But then I walked into NFL Films and had never seen an Arri camera before, and it showed. And yeah. It was an interesting couple of months. I actually got the spring internship, which they have a fall and a summer, and those are a bit longer. And the spring one was 3 months, and it was during the off season. So I didn't shoot any like live football, but it was a quick lesson in like, oh, wow, I have a lot to learn.
Yeah, for sure. But I think also a killer opportunity just to get exposed even deeper into that world, right? I think all of us in our creative pursuits, sometimes it does take that exposure of like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing, to really fuel then this passion of like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I want to know, and I want to like dig deeper, and I want to learn more. And I think sometimes we're afraid as people who label ourselves as creatives of like being the person who doesn't know. We want to walk into a room and have people think we know it all, right? Like I've worked with that camera. I've done this technique. I've shot this thing. And I think there's something really like vulnerable and something that helps us grow, and walking in a room and being like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing, but I know that I want to learn, and I know that I want to get better at this because I love the environment. I love like this space that I'm in.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that like when that like creativity spark like unlocks in you, you realize like, this is what I want almost. And I think like so often, cause it's funny what you're sharing, like you and I have similar like ways into, like I was into sports growing up and kind of fell into graphic design by accident. Right. And like, but I didn't know what I didn't know, so like I didn't have a network of people around me in that world. So it was like every opportunity I got, it was like, wow, I know very little here. Right. Like, but it was like so much a part of me that I was like, I'm going to figure it out. And I'm not going to like lie and be like, I don't know. Or, I mean, I know everything about this. Like, I'm going to tell them like, hey, I don't really know where I'm at, or what we're doing here, but I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to figure it out because I love this. And I think that's a part of creatives as a whole too, of like, there's oftentimes I've found that there's this like willingness to kind of like jump into something when like it's going to be just a really cool opportunity, whether that be to grow as an artist or an individual, or just a really cool opportunity to like produce a cool project. And you kind of always walk away like knowing something new, learning something new, or at least meeting some cool people in the process. And so I think it's a kind of a cool thing that we fall back to this kind of like almost like foundational creativity spark inside of us that continues to drive us through those moments where we're like lost and clueless and, sometimes intimidated, or we have that imposter syndrome. And it's like, yeah, I may not look like I belong here, but one day I hope to, and I'm going to work towards that.
Yeah. I would say a couple things. The first is that I am still not afraid to admit when I don't know something. And that's one of the questions you guys had pre this podcast for me was like, what advice would you give? And not to jump all the way to that point, but that is something that I pride myself on a little bit is like having no pride. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
just like, man, I don't know this shit. I don't know if I can cuss on this, but it's like,
Totally.
Yeah,
okay,
you're good.
yeah, I don't know this shit. Like, tell me about it. I have a good buddy who's a gaffer, and we were texting about a job a couple of years ago, and he was like, I think you need a couple pancakes for that. And I was like, dude, what the fuck are pancakes? And it's just like a little thing that you elevate a height, whether it's a stand or something. And like, he will not let that go to this day. Anytime I see him, he's like, you need a pancake, dude? And I'm like, whatever, man. Like, wasn't like,
Who's bringing the syrup?
yeah, for sure. And I think the other thing I was going to say is like, when you get to the points of not knowing something, particularly in your young creative career, is you got to be lucky enough to find the good mentors. And the NFL Films internship was a bit bittersweet because I'm not going to say any names or whatever. I think I don't have a relationship with NFL Films anymore. They weren't the direct people there, weren't the mentors that I needed, but ironically, they connected me to people back home that were the mentors I needed. That took me to the next step, and that I'm still indebted to for the rest of my life, and that I consider brothers now. So
Yeah.
bittersweet experience, but you have to find the mentors that are willing to like lead you out of the unknown.
Yep. And I think there's so much in that for creatives. Before we were recording, I was just having coffee with a guy I met through LinkedIn. We were just kind of connecting. And so much of what he and I talked about and what you're talking about is this idea of like relationship. And as creatives, like we have to be willing to invest in those relationships and look for those mentors, look for those people that'll lead us out of the unknown, and be like in that vulnerable enough space to say, I don't know, and I want someone to help me. And then build those relationships that lead to the next thing, right? Like an internship that led to the next set of relationships that opened the door for people who are now some of probably your closest friends, right? Like we can't be creatives who go through life and just burn bridges down when we get pissed off about how a project goes or an internship doesn't go the way we want. Like it's all connected. I think I've learned that the older I've gotten is that like, I thought this thing that I did or this person that I chewed out or this relationship that I burnt to the ground because I was mad at someone wasn't connected to anything else in my life. Fast forward 5 years down the road. I mean, that's even Josh and I. Like I called the very first design I ever saw of Josh's absolute trash and said we would never use it at the organization that I was at. Fast forward a couple years later, I didn't know him. Fast forward a couple years later, I meet him and I'm like, oh, yeah, you're the dude that I called your work trash. Hey, do you want to start a business with me?
What do you think, man? That's
like, let's try it. So, and it's worked ever since. And his designs are still average.
Trash.
At best.
At best, yeah. At least I'm not trash as a human like you, Alex. So I mean.
This is true. Man, we're getting deep. Harrison, sometimes this podcast turns into Josh and I's counseling sessions. So like just you're along for the ride.
Yeah.
And welcome to it.
Well, and one thing I was going to add to even what Alex was saying too, the other aspect I think in all of that is as we grow, whether it be in our field or our career or just as a creative, like then being willing to like look back and mentor others through some of that as well. Because I can think of so many times where like I've had people in different jobs or different fields, industries tell you like, just figure it out. I had to figure it out. Like you can just figure it out. And there's some of that is okay. But when that's like always the go-to of like, well, you're really not like a mentor. You're really not like coaching or training me when you're just telling me, just go figure it out. Cause that's what I had to do to get where I'm at today. Right. And so I think it's important for us to then like even as you said, with your experience at NFL Films, it's like, it wasn't necessarily the greatest, opportunity as far as mentorship and all of that, but we can look at those moments too of like, I remember having poor leaders in my own life and thinking, man, I just really wish I had a good one. And them being a poor leader is showing me like okay, this is how not to be as
Yep.
a mentor, as a creative mentor, as a leader. And so when I get that opportunity to then, have others learn from me or follow me, I have that opportunity to lead. Like, it helps me better understand that and maybe have a little more empathy, have a little more patience, and just understanding of them as individuals and their experiences too. And also just allow them to have their own voice as well in that. And I think that's a big part of collaboration too, of like, it doesn't matter how new you are to the field, how young you are, how old you are, like you have a really cool perspective to share. And I think when we can bring those ideas in, we can all create better work in the end.
Yep. No, spot on. That's what I was going to say is like, even though my time at NFL Films wasn't the greatest, it gave me examples of like how, when I am in the mentor position now, how not to be.
Yeah.
So also, I don't know if you guys publish this on YouTube so people watch this. I think it's kind of funny that the cinematographer is on here and the lighting that I have just chosen is absolute dog shit.
Bro, I love it. I think it's great.
But we don't have because the weather has been so nice, we don't have the AC on.
Yeah.
But it's actually like really cold in my house. And so now I don't know if you can see me get shaking. I don't know if that's nerves or combination of nerves and cold, but I had to get by the window to warm myself up.
Dude, I love it. It's all good. Let's talk a little bit. So like you go from NFL, you've worked through a variety of different places, but now you're working like in-house creative, right? Like that's kind of where you're living at Wood Miser with our buddy Tyler, and getting to work on these in-house creative pieces for this global brand. Talk about the work that you've done in that space of combining filmmaking with this global brand that a lot of people I don't think would traditionally associate like really artistic and creative filmmaking with, right? We would all expect the normal commercials, the dumb things that you see companies do for their marketing. But I feel like what you're doing at Wood Miser is completely different. So talk about like stepping into that in-house creative space and kind of the shift that you guys have made and how you're creating content.
Yeah. I guess to give the audience a little bit of context to getting to Wood Miser, actually after NFL Films, I came home for like 4 or 5 months and was living at home. And my dad was like, you should get a full-time job. And I was like, no, I shouldn't. I want to freelance. And it just wasn't kicking off, especially like being so green in my career. I didn't have a lot of connections. And so this is actually now, present day, my second stint at Wood Miser.
Okay.
I went to Wood Miser in like 2017 and was there for 2 years, where I was basically doing all the same stuff I'm doing now, just didn't have as much experience. But then I went and got back into the NFL and worked for the Colts in-house. And then I left and freelanced, and now I'm back at Wood Miser. So I've dabbled in all the worlds, but I have been in the corporate in-house world that probably like 60 to 70% of my time. I don't remember the specific question now that I've gone off on that tangent, but I will say, being at Wood Miser, I've been extremely lucky to have not only an organization, but people that believe in me and that kind of, I mean, I don't say this as a downer or as a slight, and that they know that they don't know video, and so that they trust me.
Yeah.
And so that was the case the first time that I was there. I'm just going to give a shout out to my original boss, who's now the CMO. Her name is Deanna Bunton, and she kind of, I remember during my interview, she was like, "Do you have a passport?" And I was like, "I do." And she's like, "Okay, cool. That's you're going to need that." And then like I started traveling for them, and she just put full trust in me to fail, even if they didn't know I was failing. You know, like she just gave me the green light, and I kept that relationship with her, which is how I ended up back at Woodmiser. But
Yeah.
you have to have an organization and a boss that believes in you and allows you to like try different things. And even if those things end up like in a couple months down the road, you're like, yeah, that didn't really work. But you have to, I'm very blessed and lucky to have fallen into a company in Indiana about sawmills that is so creatively free and open to my ideas. So I don't know if that answered your question, but
Yeah, I think absolutely. That was, I think, kind of what we were getting at was that, like, you wouldn't think a sawmill company that's based in Indianapolis that has this worldwide reach would be releasing short form documentaries
yeah,
that, like, you guys just released the Angel City documentary. Like, absolutely stunning. And I am exposed to the world of sawmills because of Tyler and
yeah.
because he's been there forever. And my cousin owns one and is
Oh,
crazy.
really?
Yeah, he bought one. Tyler helped facilitate a deal. He lives in the sticks in Kentucky. It's a whole thing. But
Oh,
like
yeah.
for most people, they've never been exposed to this. But I think anyone could watch this documentary and be like moved by the process and moved by the storytelling. And it's that, like, I think what you guys are doing is taking the power of story, which is the most powerful, I feel like, a way for us to communicate human emotion. And you're just applying that to the industry that you happen to be in, which is selling the best sawmills in the world, right? It's not,
Yeah.
storytelling is not exclusive to traditional creative fields.
Nope.
Storytelling is the thing that moves people to make decisions and to change things or to buy things or to go places. And so I just love that, like, component of what you're doing.
Yeah, I
Yeah. And
appreciate that.
I was going to ask too, like this isn't necessarily part of it, but I'd love to give people an opportunity and honestly, selfishly would love to hear some of the thought and process behind that work, because as Alex and was kind of laying out, it's like, it feels like this like sawmill, in Indiana may not produce something this creative or this unique. So tell us a little bit about like the thought behind that, a little bit of the process, and like why'd you guys go that direction, and uh, honestly too, we'll link it in the show notes for people to check out because I think it's a really beautiful piece.
Thank you so much. Well, it's a combination of a lot of factors. I think so. The first time, I'll say this: Woodmiser as a company, and there are other companies you see doing this, but Woodmiser as a company has the advantage of priding themselves on their customers,
Hmm.
their customer service, but more so their customers. And that, like, since their founding, and Tyler's father-in-law was one of the founders, they have always been like, this isn't about us, it's about what our customers are doing with our product. And so when you walk into a company that's like, hey, we're not, like, obviously we're trying to sell and we're trying to show that our product is what you should buy, but like, we're really more selling a dream, and our customers are the ones that are taking it and running with it. Like, that's the first step, right?
Yeah.
The second thing I would say is like getting to a place like Angel City or that type of content and documentary has taken a while. I mean, it my first stint, and my boss that I gave a shout out to earlier would probably laugh at this. Like, we do laugh at it. My first stint, we were doing, Woodmiser has always done these like customer stories. They've been at the forefront of that. Like, whether it's first it was in print and they had their own magazines, but then obviously in the video world, they branched out to that. And so when I got there the first time and started doing these like documentary type stories on our customers, if there wasn't a sawmill or a piece of orange shown in the first like 15 seconds, my boss was like, whoa, like, this can't happen. This is against the rules. And so it's been a long journey, so much to the fact that I left the company and came back around to get to a point to where story is numero uno, product is in the background. Now we still have, like, if you go on our YouTube channel, we still have those very like, hey, this is why I bought a wood miser, or like we have product demos where it's like, hey, this is the machine. 11 a.m. in Indiana, the tornado
I was
sign.
saying, yeah, it's going off, man. It's going.
Yeah. But we still have our very tech facing or tech based videos, right? There's still a place for that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I prefer and enjoy and really cut my teeth on the stories, because that's where you get to connect with the people. And yeah, that's what I enjoy the most. I think the third aspect of it too is getting to a place of like Angel City and these documentaries that we're talking about, is people don't realize how much wood is in our life, is integrated into our life, and how much art there is in wood. And there just happens to be this just like crazy happy marriage between wood miser making an awesome product that happens to be in the lumber wood industry, and the people that are using it have crazy stories. And it's like, when it comes to the process, not to put myself down, but like the story's like there, like I just look for it and find it.
Yeah.
And there's kind of a funny parallel to almost every interview that I do with Sawyers. They say like in the tree, when they cut it open, they're like revealing beauty. Like you see the growth, you see the ring patterns from the tree, the type of wood that you're cutting. And they're like, we're not doing much. We're just kind of revealing it.
Yeah.
There's a parallel. I feel the same way. Like, yes, we find the story. Yes, there's a huge process of like how we're going to film it, like who are the characters and all the logistics. But like in general, I'm just revealing what's already there.
Yeah, I love that. And honestly, like, it made me think of like kind of our goal here for the podcast even is like this idea of that everyone's creative. Like sometimes we don't see it, right? We all know Tyler, he would say he's not creative, but then we see the ways that he solves problems. And I'm like, I would have never thought to do it that way. Like, does that mean I'm not a creative person? But just because we work in the traditional fields of creativity, like that word gets, shown and thrown upon us, whether good or bad. But I think that like it's in all of us, right? And it's because at the end of the day, it's that problem solving. And so it's kind of on us and others to kind of shine that light on other people to kind of help unlock that and spark that inside of them. I love what you're saying there at the end, that beauty of just revealing what's already there, like it's the wood, and like you were saying, it's all around us. Like I can look around my home right now and my walls are up because of that. And like, just, I have furniture and like all of those things that daily you take for granted, and you don't understand the full process of how all that came to be. And there's like such a cool opportunity to share story and parallel that with life and all those things. And like you said, it's just, you get that opportunity to kind of share what's already there. But it's still impressive and beautiful how you guys have been able to show that in a way that really is emotional and really inspiring.
Another quick shout out to Tyler for, he helped me get the film permits to go shoot that Angel City video. So he's more tied than he wants to admit.
Yes, he always is, man. He's that guy that's just like, he's always there and he's got your back. And he's probably going to hate listening to every second of this episode because of the number of times we talk about him.
But actually, we just title it the Tyler Smith episode.
Hopefully, at least we just get one listener. Then at least Tyler will listen.
Ty would at least listen. Harrison, I want to know your thoughts on where you see the world of creativity, filmmaking, storytelling headed in the next 5 years. Because you're talking a ton about like, we've really just revealed the stories that are there. And yes, we've done it in a very unique and creative approach to the traditional corporate storytelling and customer testimonial. But like, where do you see that going in the next 5 years as you guys are really kind of continuing to push the envelope on storytelling?
This was probably the question I was least prepared or qualified for.
Same here, just to be clear. We're not qualified to answer this one at all, but we love to ask it.
That's fair. Just pass the problems on to others.
100%.
Yeah.
Tyler,
none of us qualified to do a podcast in here.
True.
Well, I mean, I guess in the intermediate, at least with Woodmiser, I'm always chasing Patagonia. That's my inspiration, and they have been the company at the forefront of storytelling and not direct selling. Yeah. So I see more and more brands doing that, even in like commercials. It becomes more about the idea and the lifestyle than the actual product. So you'll like watch a commercial and then like 30 seconds later you realize it's a clothing brand, or car commercials are pretty obvious, but like things are getting more subtle. So I don't see that going away. Filmmaking, I mean, I admittedly, like, because my job is go, I'm admittedly not like always the first person to rattle off the newest tech in the industry and what's coming out. Obviously there's going to be some really interesting challenges, both good and bad. My gut says more bad with AI. So I don't know how that affects me. That remains to be seen. But I mean, I think that the barriers to entry overall are going to continue to lower as they have over the last couple of years. People are just picking up, like I did, picking up a DSLR, and their stuff looks closer and closer to cinema level quality. Now, like the sharper eyes can tell, right? But the average consumer is like, oh wow, like that's really good.
Yeah.
You have a shot on, I hate to say this, but like shot on the iPhone, right?
Yep.
With a $50,000 lens, it was shot on the iPhone. Yeah, I really though, I don't know where it's going. I think AI throws a huge wrench into it. But in general, I do think more and more people are going to have like quicker access to make professional looking stuff, whether that's good or bad, and whether or not that uses AI, that's another discussion.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think there's that balance, right? Of like, yes, the barrier to entry is lower, which I think is great. I think getting people exposed and having access to tools, like there's no need to gatekeep on that. But I do think there is going to be a line when it comes to true storytelling and when it comes to truly like bringing out that emotion over just a gimmick and over like, yeah, I have the best tools, but I don't know how to tell a story, right? Like having done a little bit in the world of film, like there's so much that happens on the editing side outside of the capture that's where like the story can really come to life, and you can make or break the story in that. And so, yeah, anyone can pick up a camera, but if you just throw it into an AI editor and say, go, like you're losing, I think, some of that human emotion and empathy in the story that you're creating. And I think that's going to be the big differentiator in beyond the tools that are accessible is the human empathetic emotion of telling a story.
Yeah. And it's like, how can you find a way to use something like AI that isn't overly intrusive to your art or your process, but that helps? Like, I don't know. Have you guys seen these LED walls that are all the rage these days?
Yep.
And, like, I guess specifically in the Woodmiser example, I've thought to myself, like, man, we could knock out like all of our products in front of an LED wall and change the location like that. And as those walls get better and the AI gets better, like that's something that we should absolutely consider.
Right.
But that doesn't mean we're going to let AI, like you just said, do our editing or take over our entire process. So it is a balance for sure.
Yeah. That's good, man. Harrison, what is on the horizon for you personally, professionally? Like, I know you're doing things at Wood-Mizer. You're doing incredible work there. We talked a little bit in the intro, really wanting to tell like human experience stories, talking about like the geopolitical issues of our time. What is like on the horizon for you? Is there anything that you're working on that you're super pumped about?
Well, I guess the more immediate future, and I have to actually quickly back up because I haven't done it. It hasn't been fair. I have to give a shout out to my co-creator at Wood-Mizer, Colby Hartwig. I was at Wood-Mizer again the first time, and I was generally by myself the entire time. And then I came back with the idea of bringing someone along to help out. And he joined in July. And so like Angel City doesn't happen without Colby Hartwig. So
yeah.
He and I, in our immediate future, are actually going to Australia in April.
Nice.
to do all kinds of Wood-Mizer stuff. I don't know if a Wood-Mizer film will come out of it, but there will be like short little docs and just content in that market. So we're very pumped about that, and we're always trying to like find little ways 1%, like whether it's a lens choice or an editing style to just like change things up and improve.
Yeah.
Kind of in competition with ourselves a little bit. As far as me personally, after Australia or Wood-Mizer, I don't know. I've always wanted to live in the big city. People at Wood-Mizer know that. So like, that doesn't need to be hidden or anything. I've always wanted to live in the big city. I don't know how my career translates into geopolitical issues. I mean, I would love to, I guess, do what I'm doing, but on like a bigger topic basis, and like bring in people that I've built relationships with, like cinematographers that are better than me, editors that are better than me, and like just be like a overarching producer of documentaries that you might see on Netflix or Hulu or whatever you have it. So, but I don't know. I've also thought about pivoting a little bit. So another
That's
answer,
awesome.
I do not have a concrete one for you, but I guess in the intermediate, it's more Wood-Mizer stuff. I'd like to shoot. I have a buddy in New York who I've shot some short films with. He's working on a script, so I'm always bugging him like, hey, when's it going to be done? Because we haven't done one in 3 years. So just that kind of stuff. But yeah, long term, big question mark, my guy.
Yep. Dude, I get that. I don't know most days what we're doing with our company tomorrow, let alone in the next couple of years. So I totally understand that. But I love you have a bunch of ideas. And like, I think as creatives, it's really good for us to have ideas of what we could do, what we might want to do, what we may want to explore. And then when an opportunity comes along, we just like take it and we go try it. And it was like, maybe producing documentaries at that level wasn't the thing, but I do love this other thing and I may go try that at some point. And so I think just keeping those options open is really critical rather than just being like, I am going to be a in-house creative documentary filmmaker for the rest of my life. That is my plot in life, and I'm going to run that so hard, right? Like, it's easy to get in that rut and thinking like, this is awesome, which it is, but there's always more. There's always something else you could try or get better at or do different. And so I love that, like, pursuit.
Yeah. I think my biggest blessing and curse is that I'm interested in so many things, and I've never been able to fully commit to being like, I'm just going to be a director of photography, because there's so much, at least within just the filmmaking world, is so like, I really like editing. I also really like directing. Like, I don't know, decisions, man.
It's tough.
I just try to avoid them, and then
pound
where you land.
All right, blow it up, start over. Well, Harrison, dude, this has been awesome. Like, I've had a blast. Tyler did not disappoint in his recommendation of you and this conversation. So thank you so much for sharing all of this. Thanks for hopping on. We have loved getting to chat with you on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Well, you guys are both in Indy?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll have to meet up with Tyler, grab a brew or something.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Absolutely. That'd be sweet.
Yeah. And we want to thank all of you for joining us on another episode of Creative Belief. We hope that the show has been a reminder that you were made to create incredible things, whatever that is. So go create something today that makes the world a better place. You can follow along what we're doing here on the show. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. We would love for you to leave a rating, leave a comment, give us some feedback on the show. Let us know what you're thinking about the content that we're putting out. That helps other people find these episodes and helps us take these creative stories even further. And you can also follow what we're doing at our brand design studio, creator studio on Instagram. So that's at CRTR Studio on Instagram. Thanks for hopping on this episode, and we will see you on the next one.